First, there was the violent franchise revival. Then, there was the complex, speedy evolution. Now is a new iteration. A game not content to play it safe, one of the few things it has in common with its predecessors. A grounded, weighty approach to the gameplay loop that challenges the player's aggression, prioritization, animation memorization, and reaction. Doom, the Dark Ages. This was my most anticipated game of the year. The hype I experienced as I stared down the clock for early release was immeasurable. Since 2021, Doom has become one of my most treasured franchises for gaming. id Software have built a near flawless reputation with Doom games, long before I started playing them. If a new Doom game comes out, you know it's gonna slap. This one is no different. Dark Ages did not disappoint me at all. That's saying something, because although I was hyped for this game, I tempered my expectations due to the high quality of my Eternal experience. I wasn't sure if the combat and exploration would be anywhere near as compelling. To my surprise, it is nearly as compelling. The detailed, gloomy but varied medieval Lovecraftian art style, the tanky, skillful, grounded gameplay, deep progression, engaging exploration, and excessive aura farming make for a great time in this game, one I won't forget. However, I do have a few minor criticisms of the game regarding the story, balance, and polish, as well as some preferences for Eternal over TDA. But none of these things detract from the overall experience in a major way. I'll go into gory detail in this review.
I'm ready to rip and tear! I'm B34J, and this is my review of Doom, the Dark Ages!
We found their entry point. It doesn't make sense, sir.
The barrier is still holding, but our scans show that 3 portals were open from inside the village.
The demons couldn't get past the barrier, so their followers are letting them in.
Launch the Slayer.
Impact confirmed. The Slayer has been activated.
We will not leave here until the heart of Argent is found.
That demon, he's after something. You saw that.
All the power of hell, cowering before one man.
Anyone who wields it, they'd have the power of a god. Stronger than maybe even you.
The time of ascension is now. No longer shall we be shackled to a dying cosmos.
We need him.
You are beneath me. You always were. You are a weapon. I am a god!
They are rage, brutal, without mercy. But you will be worse. Rip and tear until it is done.
Never rule as king, so long as you are the only one they fear.
First order of business, addressing the elephant in the room. The moment id Software and Mick Gordon fell out, almost the entire Doom community wondered if future entries would even remotely come close to the absurd standards set by Gordon. Andrew Holsholt and David Levy did pretty well with the Ancient Gods DLC. I should have seen this coming. Holsholt has some sick remasters of the OG Doom music. I was convinced the future of Doom music was in good hands, until news broke that Holsholt and Levy wouldn't be working on TDA. So for months, I optimistically wondered about who would take the reins. Months of anticipation went by until the fated day of the Developer Direct.
And the soundtrack to your epic adventures will be composed by the award-winning team at Finishing Move.
Finishing Move. I was unfamiliar with their work, TDA trailer music aside. Those trailers had some great music in them, so it was already looking up. What's the first thing I hear after booting the game up?
What? Y'all saying the music mid? What's that? Turn this up. Turn this up. Oh my God.
When the shadows first lengthen is some gas. Certified banger. That motherfucker came in booming. Immediately the first or second best menu theme of the modern Doom games. Hellwalker had a chainsaw in it, and this still somehow blew it out the water. For me, it's a toss-up between the brazen audacity of When the Shadows First Lengthened and the creative callbacks of the Doom Eternal main menu OST. Sorry, Ancient Gods main menu OST, you're still great. I've seen a lot of support for the new music, but I've also seen a lot of backlash with people saying the music ain't up to par. I've seen people describe it as generic metal? Huh? We listening to the same music? Y'all listening to YouTube commercials or paying on a PS3 or something? I don't know. Generic? Y'all treating this like Apex Legends music, Serious Sam 4 music, or even worse, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 2023 music. A big attributing factor to this reception, from my point of view, that did no favors is that the music isn't mixed well in the game, at least at launch. That the default setting was 80 volume, but the game sound effects gets 100, drowning out the music, is criminal. I had to turn the music volume to 100 and the game volume to like 50 or 60 to get my fix, and the music still felt too quiet at certain points. Granted, they did patch this as I am writing. The default volume settings sound way better. The musical cues aren't the most effective either. At launch, heavy combat music would just pop out of nowhere and disappear with no enemies around, but they already patched that up. But the core problem is that the music mostly doesn't ramp up, especially later in the game, until a super heavy demon or leader pops up, you break morale to down a leader's shield, or a boss fight. So you could be in a thick arena fighting for your life against Pinkies, Mancubi, Arachnotrons, Hell Knights, and so on, but you're only listening to some strings. I'm already in a rough environment. Ramp up the music. Come on. I'm ready to rip and tear. In my opinion, the music isn't the problem. It's the poor implementation that bothers me, and may be a contributing factor to its bad reception. But they ain't on finishing move. They did their part. Much like Andrew Hulsholt and David Levy, they simultaneously respected the style that Mick Gordon set for modern Doom while adding their own spice, something more fitting for the medieval setting of TDA. Multiple bangers. I don't need to talk much about Unchained Predator or Unholy Siege, but Infernal Chasm, Hellspawn Rift, Blood Red's guitar riffs still live rent-free in my head. Specifically the bass line part that goes like... The music in this game slaps. It's your medicine. It's your solution. It's your nigga. Finishing move, much like Gordon, Hulsholt, and Levy before, effectively sold us drugs by releasing this music. Please, people who weren't impressed with the music during the game, I implore you to go online and give it a listen. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But Finishing Move deserves a fair shake, and it ain't fair that, genuine opinions aside, because they do exist and I will acknowledge them, their music is getting shat on from rose-tinted glasses and bad default settings. Settings. And that's the perfect segue to talk about the difficulty. Id Software has been through the ringer when it comes to striking the right difficulty for Doom. 2016 was too easy. You can coast through that with practically any gun you want. Eternal ramped up the difficulty massively, with Tag 1 upping the ante even more, but that received backlash. So they decided to tone down the difficulty for Tag 2, which resulted in even more backlash. This time around, id Software just said, fuck it, give everybody what they want. Doom's campaign has historically had difficulty options, so id Software has the room to do something that From Software doesn't. Add difficulty sliders. You can tweak a good portion of specific options to play the game just how you like it. I went in with the expectation that default Nightmare would be too easy, especially because that's practically what everybody was saying as the game was coming out and in early access reviews. Lo and behold, players had that exact complaint when the game launched. I'm personally okay with this because we've seen in the past that it can't satisfy everybody with default settings. So if I gotta put a little extra work in to get the challenge that I'm looking for, I'm satisfied as long as the option is there. That being said, after finishing the insane challenge that was Doom Eternal last year, I needed straight fentanyl. Inject this shit into my veins. I live and breathe this shit. The only thing they fear is me. I started off by putting the parry window all the way down and planned to tweak settings as needed throughout. Then, Under the Mayo dropped his recommended settings in a YouTube post, so I used those plus tweaked some more settings. So I played on Nightmare settings, parry window, enemy stun time, and resources at the lowest value, 150% speed, 75% damage to demons. This game is harder than Doom Eternal Nightmare on average. There are some late game levels that are Tag 2 difficulty, which is to say easier than most of the game, but still no joke. But some of TDA's arenas on my settings are harder than at least the early areas from Eternal's Super Gore Nest Master level. This is what I came here for. All these reviews out, most of everybody beat the game already. Me, it took me 3 weeks, 60 hours. That's one playthrough. Call me ass, but in that same breath, you had better call me a smoke lord. I'm honestly impressed. I didn't expect the difficulty to ramp up from Eternal, but with tweaked settings, it does by a significant margin. Some may criticize the ease of default Nightmare, and that's a fair criticism. Me, I don't give a damn. Default settings for music are important because it sets a solid tone and contributes strongly to the first impression. It should be less complicated to get that right on the first try. Default gameplay settings, that doesn't bother me as much. It's bound to be a more sensitive, nuanced aspect that will evoke many different opinions. With a slider system like in TDA specifically designed to target all types of players, I don't care that default Nightmare is too easy, because the option for the challenge I want is there. If default Nightmare is all we had, I would criticize the game's difficulty, but it isn't. So instead, I'll praise the game's difficulty. I've set the table up. Now, let's eat the main course, the gameplay. I'm getting into this immediately after difficulty because the settings I played on heavily affected my view on the gameplay, similar to how Eternal's difficulty did the same for that game. I can only speak on my experience, so there will be some foundational commonalities and experience-based differences from other players. I mean, slayers. One universal truth: this ain't a gun game. This is a shield and melee game. Not that it was trying to hide that, they def weren't, but you wouldn't expect that from a Doom game. The shooting mechanic itself is of course prominent, but the shield saw and melee are front and center. The ops are abnormally thick, throwing hella, pun intended, projectiles. You can't jump that high without sprinting, and there's no meat hook or dash, so your movement options are limited, especially vertically. This is where the shield comes in. It's meant to keep you in the fight, up close and personal. The shield saw can block incoming projectiles, damage and stun enemies / eliminate groups of fighter when thrown, close the gap via shield bash, and repel hell surge attacks via parry. It's the ultimate offensive and defensive tool in this game.
Yeah, nigga. Yeah, nigga. Yeah, nigga. Yeah, oh yeah. I'll play Souls. I'll play Souls. I'll play Souls, bitch. Ain't none of that happening. Nigga, I'll play Dark Souls.
The melee can be used to refill ammo and falter heavy demons and above. These two tools set the heavy, in-your-face, smash-mouth, tank-like gameplay direction. My difficulty settings emphasize the importance of these tools. Taking out heavy demons as efficiently as possible almost always involved the shield saw in some way, whether it was chain shotting a pinky to stun them, then using shield bash to glory strike the rider from a distance, using the saw to stun a mancubus, rendering them defenseless, or punching the shit out of a super heavy demon. The shield and melee are your best friend. The lowest parry window is unforgiving for fast hell surge attacks, but the parry mechanic can enable you to survive situations that were impossible in previous games. This is an example of the power fantasy that is earned being better than the one that is given. You know, not all ideas from other games are bad for Doom, and its software tends to know what works. This Souls idea worked well. Apparently there's also some God of War influence in this game as well. I don't know, I haven't played God of War. The melee weapons all felt best for different aspects. The power fists felt best for ease of use. The flail was good for crowd control and armor accumulation. The dread mace felt forged for DPS against super heavies and bosses, while retaining your maximum ammo count against them at all times. Yes indeed, melee and shield are the foundation of combat in this game. The grounded, open map design is the perfect house for this type of game. Now, anytime I talk about map design, I feel obligated to say I'm no expert, as I made some below average maps in Halo's Forge. I'm kind of getting tired of repeating that, but it bears repeating because not many people watch my channel, so. And I refuse to give off any know-it-all impressions. That just ain't that ain't me. I like to be honest. That being said, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to acknowledge the brilliance of TDA's level design. It's not perfect, and there are some exploits, but it's damn awesome. The open design allows for the Slayer to wreak maximum havoc against massive waves of demons. The enemy density makes it feel like a real war. The arenas aren't as flat as you may think either, as some elevated platforms can be incorporated into combat. Entering an arena by jumping off a cliff to impact the ground and kill a group of fodder is entertaining, but the mechanic can also be used mid-arena to falter heavy demons. You might want to close the gap on an elevated Arachnotron or execute a Cacodemon. Explosive barrels are strategically placed around the arena for you to skillfully destroy threatening targets. In a game with no traditional thrown utility grenades, this is made even more important. Fodder placement is an important part of map design here, as you can use them to not only farm resources as usual, but you can use them as an escape from heavy demons via shield bash, and groups of blue shield soldiers can be used to falter the field via explosion from plasma fire. The placement of metal shield soldiers can allow you to safely approach enemies using the armor you get from a shield throw, or gather that armor in retreat. I like the variety in map size as well. The linear missions feel like traditional modern Doom, and the bigger maps didn't feel like much of a chore to traverse. Maybe that 150% speed carried. I like that the more open maps were jam-packed with secrets and combat. The map design fits the gameplay and exploration like a glove. On a surface level, the guns all feel and sound immaculate, and each are uniquely entertaining, but that's to be expected. It's Doom. What's important for me is how well the guns complement the shield saw and melee, and they indeed mesh well, particularly at higher difficulty settings. Putting resources at the lowest value makes it more essential to melee for ammo than it was to glory kill for health in past games. Throwing the shield saw allows you to inflict max suffering on heavy demons as they are stunned. Shooting a demon into a stunned state from a distance opens an opportunity to shield bash into a glory strike or execution. Then there are the combos against super heavy demons, where you want to close the gap, bait Hell Surge melees, parry them until they falter, melee them until they falter again, then shoot them with the super shotgun before parrying the next attack. That loop is pure bliss. What impresses me is how ramping up the difficulty also increases gun utility to a degree, bringing the game closer to that eternal feel. I only have one playthrough, and the game is still fairly new, so I'm not sure if my strategies were optimal or simply tailored to my playstyle, but each enemy had me thinking about what gun to use. My most used weapons were the Reaver Chain Shot, Impaler, and the Super Shotgun. I felt the Chain Shot worked well against Pinkies, Vagaries, and just about any armored demon. The Impaler could insta-kill Stalker Imps on headshot and is effective against the Mancubus, but I mostly used it against the Commodore Warrior and Prince Azrak. The utility of the Super Shotgun is diverse, which heavily influenced my up-and-close playstyle. For me, it was the optimal weapon to kill Stalker and Nightmare Imps, Cacodemon hybrids, the Mancubus, Whiplash, Revenant, Arachnotron, Agadon Hunter, Cyber Demon, and Cosmic Baron. It also heated up metal shields the quickest, leading me to a run-and-gun playstyle. There were some uses for other weapons as well. The Pulverizer was good for taking out crowds of fodder while saving ammo for other guns. Other automatic straps targeted explosive barrels more accurately at range. Sometimes it was better, rather than throwing the shield saw, to use a plasma weapon against blue shield soldiers to get that explosion to more efficiently chain against other nearby blue shields and falter nearby heavy demons. And do I really need to talk about the utility of the Ballistic Force crossbow? I still haven't figured everything out, of course. The Ravager is supposed to deal heavy damage against single targets, but it just feels like the SSG and Impaler have higher DPS. I don't really know when to switch from the Accelerator to Cycler, and I don't know the best situations to use the Grenade Launcher or Shredder. But again, the game is new, and meta will be revealed over time. That I figured out this much shows that Dark Ages has a lot under the hood for guns, even with it being a shield and melee game. Perhaps the variety in gameplay is derived from the enemies themselves. Each demon had at least one specific set of actions I would use to take them out. I used Shield Bash to close the gap on Stalker Imps and Arachnotrons and SSG them. I would similarly use Shield Bash to close the gap on Whiplashes, Acolytes, and Revenants, but they move so fast that I have to Shield Saw them to stun them as I SSG them down. I would bait Nightmare Imps into using their Hell Surge dashing melee so I could quickly one-shot them before taking damage. I'd use the Chain Shot to stun Pinkies, then use a Shield Bash to close the gap for a Glory Strike to the Rider. I'd repeat the process for the execution. I would Shield Saw Cacodemons ASAP so I could SSG them before they started blocking all my shots. I had to parry cannons at an angle where I knew the projectile would strike them back. Since Commodore Warriors have some non-parryable close range attacks, I lead them as they chase me, shooting them with the Impaler in the head, sticking to a mid-range distance, occasionally poking inward so I can either safely melee before the monster started its next animation, or parry an attack, get the falter, then smack them with the Dread Mace. The Cyber Demon, Agadon Hunter, and Cosmic Baron all led to these boxing matches where I would get up close to parry, melee, shoot, and repeat with proficient timing. The approach for each of them were different though. Since the Cyber Demon had a ranged machine gun and could also attack with ranged ground spikes, he's practically asking you to immediately shield bash him. The Agadon Hunter, however, shoots non-parryable projectiles at range and also has a shield around him in mid-range. So you want to approach him slowly so you can sidestep those projectiles and bait out a Hell Surge attack from about mid-range. The Cosmic Baron sends a Hell Surge projectile at you and can jump for a Hell Surge ground pound. So you basically want to let him come to you.
It's two of them! It's two of them at once! Oh my god! Oh, holy! What the fuck? Oh my god! Oh, and these niggas hate me! These niggas hate me! That's the only explanation.
Each of these demons took multiple parries to falter as well. Faltering, as it was in Eternal, is an important mechanic. Those short few seconds of stun can secure the landing of lethal inputs. The way the game encouraged me to think, experiment, and practice against each demon was interesting, engaging, and thrilling. Then we get to the robust upgrade system. Progression is more streamlined and traditional than Eternal, but it's still rich with content. Eternal had like 50 different currencies or ways to unlock different aspects of upgrades, and I was down with that. I also don't mind the upgrade system here, even if the process is a little less unique. The outcome of said process is unique to the Doom franchise. As you progress through the missions, the Sentinels drop new weapons from the sky to add to your arsenal. Only this time, instead of each weapon having 2 mods, each class, except the chain shot, has 2 guns. Each gun has multiple linear upgrades. Most have 3 to 4 upgrades, including some dual tier upgrades, where you can choose and switch between 2 upgrades at any time once the tier is unlocked. These are kind of like mods. Then you've got linear upgrades for your melee weapons, shield, and shield runes, offensive effects activated after parrying a projectile. It's a lot less convoluted to level up. Gold can be used for lower tier upgrades, rubies for higher tier upgrades, and wraith stones for the last upgrades for weapons. Demonic essence upgrades are rewarding, requiring you to survive the worst hell has to offer to upgrade health, armor, and ammo. All these upgrades can be used to create some insane mayhem against the demons, tailored towards your playstyle. Getting ammo and bonus damage for headshots with the Impaler helped me wear the more aggressive, tankier enemies down. Adding an extra shot for the SSG allowed me to melt the heaviest of demons faster than ever before. The Blades rune would repeatedly blitz the hordes as I parried each projectile, allowing me to survive from the most crowded parts of the arena. Ladies and gentlemen, the destructive power of the parry charged rocket. Even with my slider on 75% damage to enemies, this thing in mere seconds can reduce a super heavy demon to ashes. Unfortunately, I wasn't that great at using it. The weapon switching time on here is pretty slow, so I'd often take heavy damage trying to switch to the rockets on time for a parry. So then the best tactic would be for me to store a parry charge from a previous fight. Can't do that on my settings. Most of the time, the last enemy of an arena doesn't throw Hell Surge projectiles, and leaving the ones that do alive, finishing the top threat first, is risky. I ain't got time to be sparing niggas. I'm trying to survive. Not to mention I was missing hella rockets. I did try to make a medic build and a lightning build, and while I failed, I'm sure someone can work out the kinks. Lots of these upgrades felt powerful. None of them broke the game for me. I guess that's the perfect segue to talk about balance. While none of the Doomslayer's tools felt OP on my settings, the demons felt broken in some cases. Boy, I'm glad I watched Under the Mayo's review before I finished writing mine.
You know how in Doom 2016 you could just get one shot by an imp fireball and go all the way from 75 health to 0? It was ridiculous. Doom Eternal added death protection, where if a hit would kill you, it puts you at an emergency 5 HP and gives you a couple seconds to find a way to heal yourself. If you don't act fast, you'll die. This allowed them to ramp up the enemy aggression because you wouldn't just randomly die from a cheap shot. The Dark Ages has Doom Eternal's death protection. A heavy hit will take you down to a 5 HP buffer, but there is no window of invulnerability to recover from the situation, meaning if two things are about to hit you, the first one can put you at 5 HP and the second just kills you. And it's like there was no death protection at all. You go from 100 HP and 25 armor to dead in 1/10 of a second. No exaggeration. If you look closely at Eternal, you'll see that it too does not have an invulnerability window after entering death protection. But it's far less common to be hit with 2 killing blows this close to each other, so you're able to recover if you know what you're doing. You're not just locked into dying like you are here.
Man, I thought I was just ass. The thruster pack gave Eternal the mobility to avoid this. Here, it's less mobility and the block is harder. I was getting smacked in the back by zombies and imps on some 2016 shit. It was bad whenever I pulled up on a super heavy demon in a box just to get backdoored by fodder or a morale leader, an enemy I couldn't even damage at the moment. Some tanky enemies, namely the Commodore and Azrak, chased you down with a rapid flurry, but also had non-parryable attacks hard to react to on 150% speed. The Hell Surges of the super heavies, turrets, Pinky Riders, and bosses were all unforgiving to parry at the lowest window, making the flurries of the Cosmic Baron and Azrak hell to survive. Reaction time alone wasn't enough.
A lot of blocks going on, no parries. No parries. Hella blocks going on.
TDA feels skillful, but at times, I felt like I just got lucky. Again, sliders can mitigate these issues, but I'm not sure if they can without making the game too easy in the process. Plus, my stubborn brain wants to believe I'm just ass, and that other players can conquer the challenges I presented myself with. I just know Raytro out in the field. Obviously, Mayo out here whooping ass. I don't know, some shit just felt a bit unbalanced. But with my settings, I was bound to butt my head a bit. For a brand new iteration of Doom's gameplay, they got the balance right for the most part. At first, I was gonna be a bit critical of TDA's exploration. Pulling away movement abilities like the dash, double jump, and meat hook seemed to simplify the exploration for about maybe 1/3 of the game. They seem a bit more obvious with less nuance. But then we got to around chapter 8 and they start pulling some shit. I'm having to look in more places, hence are placed farther away from locked rooms, and staring at those goodies did tease me.
Alright, we're not playing this game. I'm about to figure out how to get in here right now.
Some of the visual cues, which required a shield bash or throw, are placed obscurely in places only the observant eye can catch. The auto map did reveal all secret items and currency as you travel, but sometimes, just like the other two games, finding out how to get there was a real challenge. When I have to stop and look things up like it's a Souls game, that's when I know the gameplay's exploration is great. There was a level with 4 destructible wolf statues where I had to do this to access a Wraith Stone. The items you get are rewarding, whether they be gameplay focused like health, shields, gold, rubies, Wraith Stones, BFC ammo, or life sigils, extra lives, or extra content like toys, skins, and codex entries. Secret encounters make a return without the limited timer. There's variety and fun in the exploration. Traversal puzzles are fun to solve. Throwing the shield at a green gooey corpse to zoom towards it has a charming novelty, and it's easy to miss a place to throw the shield. Then, some progression items are locked behind fun, gimmicky mini arenas or straight up secret encounters. At the end, I think the exploration is on par with the previous 2 games. It's just the maps are bigger, so you get more of it, and it's a teeny bit more obvious to fit more with TDA's pacing, which I also think is fantastic. Heavy combat with a fair amount of exploration is exactly what I was looking for. Let's take a break from gameplay to talk about the story. Doom 2016 didn't have much of a focus on story. in the vein of arcade and old school games of the past, specifically the OG Doom titles. That's understandable. Eternal tried to feature the story more prominently with cutscenes, but it failed to make any of the characters complex or relatable. They were all flat and forgettable, rendering the plot unimportant. Not even the codex entries could save the game, as they didn't really provide much characterization. They were more history and lore focused. So when they announced that TDA would have even more of a story focus, I was hopeful that it could shine where Eternal failed. Unfortunately, they flopped again. Yet another flat story. Same as Eternal, there are aura farming moments out of the wazoo, and they are cool. The Slayer has plenty of great moments that will have you rooting for him, like killing innocent people?
Payment required.
Haha! Oh, he caught! He caught! That's caught! Nah, hey! Nah! Nah, come on, hey! That one, you got me. You got me. That's fucked up. I didn't see that coming. Like, he was non-hostile as fuck. He just got his head blown off.
Ah, come on, man. What did he do to deserve that? That innocent, mortally challenged being was simply trying to make an honest living. And his reward is getting knocked the fuck off? That shit was loud. I ain't even gonna hold you.
Ignite the charges.
That's the betrayer.
Damn, they blew the whole city up. Doomslayer saving Novik. Turn.
Stay there.
Tell me where it is.
Oh, that's crazy.
The 2016 callback being followed up by Berserk Arena is badass.
They are rage, brutal, without mercy.
It is.
You will be worse. Rip and tear until it is done.
Oh, bruh. They put 2016's intro in here. That's cold. That's cold. No. Oh, shit.
But again, flat characters, simple plot, history-focused codex entries, just with longer cutscenes. Damn it! I thought they could get it right this time. I'm really disappointed considering they cut the multiplayer and made the cutscenes longer. But all things considered, I still consider this story a masterpiece. Back to the gameplay, and we gotta talk about the gimmicks.
Take the amulet, give it to Joffrey. He alone knows where to find my last son. Find him and close shut the jaws of oblivion.
TDA offers a lot of aura-based fun. The platform and puzzle gimmicks are neat, with the green goo jumps, bashing blocks and walls, breaking metal, and activating levers with the shield throw, and activating gravity lifts. Blowing up enemy cannons and AA artillery was pretty cool. But y'all already know what time it is. The most controversial parts of the game. The turret, mech, and dragon sections. From my standpoint, they alright. They ain't ass. They're just dumbed down entertainment full of destructive spectacle. The cool factor to that first turret section, blicking down a thick ass horde, then a whole titan, that's how you wrap up a first mission. The mech combat is simple and arcadey, but the missions were short and entertaining in my book. Honestly, that last mech section is a decent challenge because the Titan Horde is thicker and stronger. At 150% speed, the Hell Surge attacks can be kinda hard to dodge at times. The Dragon missions were actually pretty damn good, while the Dragon combat itself is mid, probably slightly worse than the mech sections. It's the traveling between different POIs, fighting on the ground and blowing them up from the inside that tantalizes me. I can see how repeated runs can drag the experience down through these parts, but in isolation, they're not that bad. I don't think there were a strong enough case to remove the multiplayer, but those modes didn't get received well in both predecessors either. If you want a really bad gimmick mission, try walking through a Coney base where you're supposed to go undetected, but the enemies just shoot you for no reason when you're supposed to be blending in with them. And then you gotta go assassinate the dude for the key. You try to do it discreetly, it doesn't work, but then you do it in broad daylight and it just works. That is one of the worst. That's a terrible gimmick mission right there. These Atlas sections, these Dragon sections, these turret sections, that ain't that. Granted, Modern Warfare 3 is a horrible game in totality, but the point still stands. All in all, the gimmicks are a solid addition to the experience. Once again, Doom's presentation is on fleek. No compromise. id Software delivers again. As I stated earlier, I wish the music mixing launched in a better state, but everything else is top tier. The graphics are phenomenal, the vistas are mesmerizing, the cutscenes are action-packed, the arenas are filled to the brim with enemies, the gimmick sections look awesome, and the environments are detailed and eclectic. The medieval art style looks badass and will no doubt be the favorite for some modern Doom fans, like Halo Reach. The enemy designs look terrifying. They seem to have touched up some models from previous games. The imps have hair now, that's a bit hilarious. But the super heavies all look ready to kill. The Agadon Hunter could visually be the best enemy in all of Doom. Then there's always different stuff going on in the background. You pass up wounded Sentinel soldiers being tended to. You can see Titans, Atlas, and Dragons fighting in the background. The desolation and destruction, it all just adds so much to the presentation. When you're on Sarai, you can even see infantry fighting each other on the ground. Oh god, don't look too close. Besides these minor parts, the polish and detail make evident the time and effort id put into this game. The Cosmic Realm, certified heat. The Lovecraftian art style, the menacing creatures like the Cacodemon hybrid and the Cosmic Baron, the visually disorienting puzzles. Clap it up, clap it up. One of the best worlds in Doom. Lastly, this is probably the best looking Praetor suit in modern Doom. TDA pulled no punches on presentation. Main event time. The boss fights. On average, across the board, they outrank Eternals. While none of them reach the unforgettable height of the legendary Icon of Sin, Dark Ages stays well above the low of the Devoth fight. The boss fights that introduce super heavy demons are a proper testing playground for you to master their combat for later levels. And their intros are epic.
Agadon Hunter identified.
The leaders fight among thick hordes and have an excess of health compared to their regular counterparts. Then there are the morale leader arenas, where you have to break morale by chewing through waves to break the leader's invulnerable shield. I died for hours to these fights. One of them took me 5.
Oh my god! Oh my god! That's thunder. That gameplay right there is some thunder.
But like I said, rip and tear. Ain't nothing gonna stop me. I spent 24 hours within 3 days going toe to toe with none other than Mr.
It's over. I got him! I got him! I got him! I got him! Oh my god! Oh my god!
These arenas were probably my favorite boss fights. They were a skill check of similar difficulty to Eternal's master levels. And then there's Creed Maker. The Creed's first stage was such a cakewalk that my cockiness had to be quelled during the second.
Yeah, he's ass as a boss.
I'll say that it was a decent way to be familiarized with the basic mechanics necessary for phase 2. That second phase ain't no joke. All kinds of unique patterns. The return of the Maker drones, ground traps. You gotta use a plasma weapon to break shields. And you can destroy these traveling hazardous orbs to falter. This fight is mechanically sound, but not enough to kill me. Meet your Maker, you dead bitch.
There we go.
Azaric is keeping her alive on his ship. If she dies, his power would die with her. I can take you to her.
I figured that was gonna happen.
The old one is an Atlan mech boss fight where you can't make any mistakes because he can one-shot you. Honestly, a decent challenge and a grand spectacle. Then we get to the penultimate boss fight, Enhanced Azarac, the biggest boss fight of the game. And if it weren't for the morale leaders, it'd be the best. 3 phases, one-on-one, a knockout, drag-out, slobber knocker. Azarac was aggressive like the Cosmic Baron, with the same unforgiving parry windows, but he also, like the Commodore, had some swift, unparryable melees, so I ultimately had to lead him with the Impaler. Then he sends blood clones after you, which you can destroy for health, spawn spikes, destroyable for armor, sends flame balls. It's a great fight.
Ugh. He just killed Sarai, didn't he?
Even without character connection, this still hit me in the feels a bit. I can never be numb to pets dying. Third phase, he starts sending more parryable projectiles. He's going nuts at this point, but I weathered the storm.
Azric's life signal is still active. He's transmitting now from the Hell Dimension.
He escaped, so we slide on his crib to catch his ass lacking. Oh shit, he wasn't lacking. The final boss, the Witch and Azarac. Somebody commented on YouTube that this was like a more advanced Smo and Ornstein fight, where the partners temporarily shielded each other. This is accurate. Azrak comes at you with his usual aggressiveness, while the witch fights like a boss version of the Acolyte. When he's open, lead him in. When she's open, walk her down. I got past the first phase to kill the witch. Then, it was just Azrak. All alone. No more pawns. You start trying to hit ground pounds, but it's not enough.
I command the Horde. Kill me, and this war.
Oh, the irony of this statement.
Got his ass. Okay, ran Sazerac in a pack, and them niggas just start walking away.
The Sentinels celebrate, the Doomslayer looms, the credits roll, and I know I got my money's worth. I'll briefly talk about the user interface because we gotta appreciate when it's good to prevent COD HQ situations. The main menu couldn't be any more user-friendly. It's simple and sleek. The war-ravaged background with the Doomslayer and the fire fits when the shadows first lengthen like peanut butter and chocolate. This is going to be one of those immortal menu screens that fill me with nostalgia 10 years from now. The map feels easier to navigate with more accessible angles, and the dossier feels cleaner in general. The menus feel unintrusive for the most part. My only two criticisms will be the bizarre life sigil pop-ups before your death animation, and when you're setting up custom inputs, the visual representation of the buttons can lag. If you map a button, you then have to map that same button to that same function again for it to show up correctly. It's bizarre, never seen anything like that. But it's mostly polished and all clean and understandable. To sum up my criticisms, I've already discussed that the music launched too quietly, the story is still basic, the life sigils popping up spontaneously is off-putting. Maybe we need a few iframes on death protection, the custom layout UI is a bit buggy. I do want to note that I had hella performance issues. Like, I felt like TDA was destroying my PS5. Enemies were randomly floating, randomly spawning without like any animations around it. I was lagging in an offline game, and I'd suffer stick drift that got so bad it would carry on to other games, requiring me to reset my database to temporarily fix the problem. It wasn't the controller, that was working just fine at my brother's house on his console. Then I bought a brand new controller and it started doing the same shit. My entire PS5 OS crashed multiple times, leading to weird UI glitches in game. I was pissed at this point, but some community members brought it to my attention that my older TV might be the problem. Also, my room is hot as hell most times. I try not to have the fan running in the background because I don't want that noise to reach the streams that I do. Follow me on Twitch. So I bought a new 4K TV for a pretty low price, opened my door and fanned out my room, and 90% of my performance issues were gone. Only issues left were a few crashes, sometimes spontaneous, other times because the game would load and kill me before exiting the black screen on a respawn, freezing the game. This was likely because I kept it on 150% speed and kept pressing the respawn button too fast. I've never heard of anybody else with these specific issues. As a matter of fact, some people on base PS5 have had their game run proficiently. So, being objective, I can't criticize Dark Ages off of issues exclusive to me.
Oh my god! This is the worst checkpoint I ever dealt with! If I gotta play this part one more time, I'm gonna flip out. If I gotta beat this part one more time, I done beat this part twice and they sent me back. And you, oh yeah, I ain't gonna hold you. I'm about to crucify this game when I make the review. I'm done. I'm about to destroy this game. Like that, nah. Like, why the fuck am I not getting checkpointed? Like, you see this? This is where the checkpoint should be. This right here is where the checkpoint should be.
I will, however, call out that bogus driver update that stopped some PC users from playing.
Steam version is broken right now. A lot of people are crashing with new drivers. Why? Just why? Simple question. It is 2025. Why can we not get PC games to work on launch half the time? They even rolled out special drivers just for this game, only for them to not work.
Y'all put out a driver update, said it was needed to run the game, then the update fucked the game up. That's ass. Other criticisms. Sometimes the AI would just stand there like dumbasses, and you could use cover and distance to exploit them.
Ah, come on. Oh, that's glitch. Ah, no.
Sometimes enemies can position themselves to knock you back so far off a parry that you can't follow up with a melee. This would happen randomly and inconsistently. I think my biggest criticism for this game that slightly concerns me for the future of Doom are the low-res infantry renders on the Atlan and Surat sections. Granted, they are only a small part, a mere fraction of the game. An obsession with graphics and big budgets is currently killing the gaming industry. Still, I've never seen anything this off-putting in a Doom game. At least not that I remember. Not counting those weird glitches I was getting on 2016 through my last playthrough. Go check that review out. I don't know what the fuck was going on with that. I don't know if that was my system or whatever. I don't know. But these low-res renders, they're just tacky. It's a nitpick for sure, and the game's called Doom the Dark Ages, not Doom and Gloom. But if they were willing to release spots like this now, how many more spots will look like this in the next game? I just don't want an unfinished Cyberpunk 2077 situation in the Doom franchise. It hasn't folded yet, so let's not start now. If I'm over-exaggerating, please let me know in the comments. While my personal performance issues did detract from my experience, the rest of my criticisms didn't by much. id Software makes another banger Doom game. What's new? That it's divisive? Nah. Doom 3 had similar reception. The Dark Ages doesn't radically change the established Doom formula of its time like Doom 3 does. In fact, it actually harkens back to the original Doom formula with the importance of strafing projectiles and fighting on a more horizontal plane, while still fitting in with the fast pace and ruthless nature of modern Dooms. Yes, Dark Ages is fast, especially at 150% speed. Doom has officially had its second banger trilogy and inserted its name as a possible contender for greatest FPS franchise of all time. TDA is a solid entry into the Doom franchise and was well worth my money. I am fiending, foaming at the mouth for that DLC. In my opinion, it's far superior to 2016 in every way except exploration. Arguably art style and music. Because you know Gordon, you know how Gordon get down. While I like Eternal's combat better off of sheer preference, this game's combat still has loads of nuance to be discovered. I'm grateful I got to experience this one on time, not years later this time. It probably isn't gonna get Game of the Year, but it damn sure ain't no disappointment. That's it, folks. That's Doom the Dark Ages. I don't know, I might be taking a break after this to play some more games, and because I got a lot going on in my life, full-time job and trying to practice driving and stuff like that. So I might just take a break off of YouTube so I can focus on actually getting more games under my belt, so when I do get some more free time, I can then make some more reviews on the games that I've already played. I don't know. I got a Remnant 2. I got that Remnant 2 review in the back burner still, so it's coming. I don't know when, but it's coming. I got the script recorded. I just got to put the footage together. It's been sitting there for some months. But I will be back. Maybe I don't take a break. Maybe I grind it out. I don't know. We just got to see. If I get an abnormal amount of views on this video or something like that, I got to grind for my YouTube channel. I got to grind for the fans. In that case, that Remnant 2 video going to be coming out like as fast as I could possibly put it out. But other than that, thank you all for watching me. I always appreciate whoever can spare their time and give me a chance. This is fun. Dark Ages. Let's go. Doom with another dub. This is P34J. Launch the Slayer. Have a good one.